Hey guys, welcome to this video. Today we're going to be talking about how to heal your inner feminine, okay? So if that's what you're here for, stay tuned because we're going to dive right in. Hey guys, so welcome to this video. I'm so excited because in this video, not only am I going to tell you how you can heal your inner feminine, but I'm also going to share for the first time, some of why I repressed my feminine energy. I didn't even realize I was repressing it, but I was hiding my feminine side. I was repressing my feminine energy, and I didn't actually understand why. And maybe for you, you've been repressing yours. You don't realize that you are. So I'm going to share with you exactly what you need to do to heal your feminine energy, and I'm going to share a little about my own story and why I hid it and why I didn't even realize. So first of all, why do you even want to heal your feminine energy? I have a video on this channel that talks about the difference between feminine energy and masculine energy. You can watch that video to get a little bit of background. But here's why you need to heal the feminine energy. The feminine energy is the core of what's going to help to create your success. So whether you're trying to create money or romance or any kind of creation that's going on, any kind of development, growth, that kind of thing, the feminine energy is the energy that governs that in the physical realm, okay, in the spiritual realm, in the esoteric realm, in all the different realms. The feminine governs creation. That is why females are the ones that carry the child to full term. They birth this baby. They're the nurturers that bring the child from, infant stage to adulthood, right? The mother figure, the feminine figure. Feminine is where growth, creativity, expansion, like success, that's where it comes from. And also, when it comes to relationships, because I know a lot of you are here because you're like, you want to have your feminine because you also want to have like a really great relationship as well. The feminine is actually the one that is able to dominate, but not from like an aggressive domination, but like dominate the relationship. So for the relationship terms, when I say dominate, the energy of the feminine in the relationship is actually that seductive energy. The seductive energy. So when it comes to having romance and sex and passion and sensuality and connection and intimacy, all of that comes from the feminine energy. All of that is based and basking in the feminine energy. So when we embrace the feminine energy, not only do we have more passion, romance, sex, sensuality in our romantic life, but we also have more creativity, more expansion, more growth, more abundance, more flow, like more joy, more passion, like all those things in our businesses and our careers as well. So that's laying it on the table why you need to heal the feminine. That's why the feminine is important. So how do you actually heal your feminine energy? Well, first of all, you need to actually realize where your feminine energy is wounded. It's very hard to heal something if you don't know what it is, right? Like if you have a tummy ache and you need Pepto-Bismol and you go to a doctor and they're giving you something for like your finger or your toe, or like toothpaste, for your teeth or something, when it has nothing to do with the stomach ache you have, they're healing the wrong part. They're focusing on the wrong part. So in order for you to heal your feminine energy, you need to actually understand how and why your feminine is wounded in the first place, okay? So how do you go about doing that? Well, it starts by acknowledging where in your specific life your feminine energy has been repressed. Why has it been repressed? So I'll give you myself as the example. This is why I will share why I was repressing mine and I didn't realize. So here's why. I've always been very sexual or sensual. I've always had those kind of traits within me, but I never would express them externally. I wouldn't walk around trying to be sexy, but at home I would always be sexy and modeling and oh yeah, like feeling myself and really in my goddess and my seductress energy. But when I would go out, I would just be ladylike and very decent and very exactly what the society expects of me. And so my partners would always know, lady in the street with a freak in the bed, that kind of phrase. I would always be that kind of exotic person, but outwardly I was like a lady and proper and whatever it was, right? Now, here's why I repressed some of that side of my femininity, because femininity is not only the sensuality, it is a lot of other elements as well, and I did display some of those, but I was hiding and repressing the part of my femininity that had to do with sexuality. Why? Here's the story that came up for me when I did this activity for myself. So I'm going to give you an activity to do, but I'm going to share with you what came up for me when I did this activity. I asked myself, I went through some questions and I said, okay, where in my childhood, where in my life was I taught that it was not okay, it was not safe to express myself as a sexual goddess, as a sexual being, as a seductress, as like, when was it not okay? Well, the first thing that came to my mind was when I was around 5 years old. And I remember I used to love dancing, you know, like in the Caribbean, if you come from anywhere in Latin America or that kind of thing, you know, we like to dance. We like to move our waistline. We like to dance, you know, and I would love to dance. And for me, with dancing wasn't about sex, because sexuality and sex are very different things, and sensuality and sex are different things. But I would love to dance. I'd love to, you know, move my waist and dance. And I remember some like 2 or 3 houses down, some neighbor was playing like really loud music, and I was out in the yard playing and just dancing by myself. I was like 5, and it's not like anyone could see me from the streets or anything, but I was like whining and going down, and I was just like, you know, doing my little dancing, and I was like feeling myself. And I just remembered hearing out the window my dad like, Shaneil, stop it. Shaneil, stop it. And I was so scared. I was just like, oh my God, am I doing something wrong? You know, is it not right to dance like this? So then I stopped. Then I remember when I got a little bit older and I became like a teenager, I think I was probably like 13. I remember I was going to this school concert kind of thing, and I designed my outfit, and like I went out and I put the pieces together because I loved at that time to do with fashion design. And it was like a skirt, but it was really short. You know, I'm short, so a short skirt on a short girl doesn't really seem short. But anyway, it was a short skirt. And my mom saw it and she's like, what are you doing? What are you wearing? Do you want somebody to do something to you and something like that? And I was like, in my head, I was just like, are you kidding? I still went and I still wore what I wanted, because in my head, I'm like, I spent weeks creating this outfit. I'm not wearing this outfit. And I mean, my friends and I were all going, or parents, one of my friends' parents were taking the whole group of us. So it wasn't like we didn't have adult supervision, or like I was gonna be alone in a dark alley, or I mean, even so, like none of that was there. But I was like told I couldn't wear that, and in my head I'm like, that's not fair. Like that makes no sense to me, because for me, you know, I didn't see like the dangers my mom was trying to express. But this is what I want to show you, that those 2 experiences from my parents taught me, oh my gosh, maybe it's not safe to be sexy. Maybe you don't want to be too sexy. You know, am I doing something wrong? Like, will I get hurt? Will someone try to rape me or assault me? Or will, you know, bad things happen to me or something? And you know, this is where I'm showing you where the wound comes from. And this is a very sensitive topic. I know a lot of women feel very much shy to talk about these things. But you know what? We're healing the feminine. And in order for us to heal the feminine, we have to actually understand the wound and heal the wound. And if I need to be the one that comes on and talks about this sensitive topic and actually gives voice to some people who don't have a voice, I'm more than okay with being that voice and speaking out on some of these issues. So what I want to look at is, you know, those are 2 scenarios, but it didn't just stop there. I got baptized in a Pentecostal church, okay, when I was 9 years old. So if you don't know anything about a Pentecostal church, let me tell you something. They're strict, okay? Maybe you're watching this, maybe you're from the Pentecostal church, maybe you grew up in a Pentecostal church, but I'm telling you, they're strict. I wasn't allowed to wear makeup. I wasn't allowed to wear jewelry. I couldn't straighten my hair. I had to wear a hat to church. I had to always be covered up. Like this right here, this décolleté, all this life that I'm giving you right now with my neck, like that was not allowed. What? Showing arm? This? Showing my arm? Are you crazy? Couldn't do that. You know, it was very much covered up and always stay covered up, you know, because you don't want to cause your brother to sin. So I want to show you something here with these 3 scenarios, which is where I had to do the healing. for myself. And so I want you to do the same thing for you. Identify the 3 to 5 scenarios in your youth, okay, where you felt like it wasn't safe or okay to express your feminine side, whether it be the delicate side, whether it be the more fierce side, whether it be the sensual side, it doesn't matter. I want you to identify all the areas in your, like five main, the 5 first ones that come to your mind, where you were not able to express openly your femininity. And so those are the 3 that I'm going to use in this example. So when I looked at it, all 3 of those, my dad telling me to stop. It wasn't telling me to stop because he didn't want me to dance. He knew I liked to dance, but he saw that I was dancing outside, and for him, it was the thought of perverts or people outside that could hurt me. For my mom, you know, if I wore that in the house, it wasn't a problem, but the moment I went outside, it was like, oh my gosh, what if someone outside tries to hurt me? So it's, and again, someone external to the family or external to me will hurt me. And then the 3rd one was, you know, me for church, you can't wear that, or you cannot look cute because you will cause your brother to sin, someone external to yourself. And I realized that the wound for me with my femininity came from not being okay with being feminine or expressing and shining, because I would cause someone external to me to do something bad. So if I am feminine, then someone is gonna sin. So my femininity leads to sin, and that sin is gonna lead to me being hurt. And so that was the wound. So for me, I had to look at that wound, and I had to forgive every aspect of it. I had to understand why the context of the environment, that my dad would have, you know, seen me and known like, okay, this environment, this is not where I want my daughter outside dancing. You know, she's getting older. It's okay. It was cute when she was 4 or 3, but now she's older. Fine. You know, like I can understand the context, but I get to choose to forgive it and choose a new way of believing. Here's why I'm saying to choose a new way of believing. It's the same with my mom. I'll give you another example. The same storyline with my mom. I get to look at her scenario and look at the environment that she grew up in that gave her that mindset, that gave her that fear. You know, the things that she was seeing on the news, the things that she was watching, and you know, the Lifetime movies that she would watch that saw the kids getting kidnapped, and like all these kinds of things. And I had to understand where she was coming from and know that today I get to choose what is going to be of service to my soul. I got to look at my church and understand that that was their interpretation. Like a lot of the people back in those days in my church, some of them could not even read. So they went based off what the pastor would say. They never opened the book of the Bible and read it for themselves. They just sat in the church and they soaked up the knowledge and they learned, and whatever the pastor said or the minister said, that was the gospel. And so what they learned was not about thinking for themselves and understanding and discerning the word for themselves. It was about what someone was teaching them. And I call this in my work with my clients conditioning. You know, what your parents taught you, what society taught you, what religious institutions taught you. It's called conditioning. You were conditioned to believe this. So I had to look at all these people and realize that it wasn't an attack on me. It wasn't an attack on my divine birthright, literally my birthright. I'm born in a feminine body, in a female body. It's my birthright. We all have masculine and feminine anyway, so we all have it as our divine birthright. But like, hello, I'm a woman, and it's not, they're not attacking my divine nature as a goddess. They were acting out of their own fear and their own conditioning and their own wounds. And so because I adapted that, I also closed off myself for a very long time. So I'm going to give you some extra examples of, oh, by the way, if you are liking this video, I want you to leave a comment below and let me know what your take on this is, whether you agree, disagree, maybe you've had a similar experience, maybe your parents also scared the shit out of you when it came to feeling like you were okay to be sexy or be creative, or maybe, you know, maybe you had, you know, some kind of assault or something happened to you in the past and it caused you to close yourself off from re-embracing your femininity and your sensuality and your sexuality. This is now, we're going to be healing all of that. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. But I want to give you some other examples of times in the past where the feminine was made to be associated with some kind of sinful act or some kind of trauma, and how as a society, as a collective, we've adapted that. So number one, if you think about the witch trials, maybe witches were burnt at the stake back in the day. Now, why were they burnt at the stake? It was because they embodied their divine feminine nature of creators. If a woman back in those days had property or land or was educated, immediately men thought, oh, she must be a witch. She must be doing some kind of evil magic to have this kind of power. Let's kill them. And that was actually the massacre that happened for women. So women grew to hide. We grew to be subservient, because it's like, if people know that I'm smart, that's the whole thing of like the dumb woman or the dumb blonde. Don't act too smart. Don't act like you know too much, right? But like hiding ourselves, because if people know we're smart, then maybe they're going to burn us at the stake. It's like those things pass on into your DNA. It doesn't just stop in one generation. That's how generational curses get created. When a trauma happens, and then those high intensity emotions create changes in the DNA that are passed on through the generations. So one example is the witch trials. If you had a land or had a house or were smart, all of a sudden you're a witch, you're gonna be burnt at the stake. That's number one. A second one is for people who maybe are in the Western Hemisphere, like Latin America, Caribbean, North America, that kind of thing. And maybe your ancestries, you're from the Afro-Caribbean kind of ancestry, or any kind of country that had some kind of slavery. Women were actually raped by the slave masters or made to have sex with multiple other male slaves in the plantations, so that the slave masters could have more offsprings to be new slaves. So it's kind of like, instead of me having to send for another ship of slaves, let me just make sure all the women on here are pregnant so I can have more babies and more slaves and more stuff. So women were used in that context as a tool to continue the trauma. So if you are feminine, if you're a woman, if you are, female, it's don't be sexy, don't even look him in the eye, don't have feeling, because then you don't want to be the one that gets chosen, you don't want to be the one that's assaulted or abused in that way. And we can look at other cultures as well, in the same with the Aboriginal peoples, same if you look at like trauma that happened for Jewish families and things like that. So it's like a lot of different cultures that experience trauma, and those trauma get passed on through millennia. Now, let me say this now. Back in the day when Hitler did what he did to the Jews, okay, it doesn't mean that now in today's society that if you are Jewish that you need to hide. Do you get what I mean? So that trauma happened then. It's not necessarily happening in the same kind of way now. So you don't have to hide in the same kind of way, because that's not happening right now, right? Do you get what I'm saying? But the fear continues. So you get to choose to say, oh wait, I'm in 2018. This is how the world is now. It's the same like back in the day. If someone was homosexual, they would have been beaten up or killed. In some places, unfortunately, that still happens. But if you live in a society where it's like the norm, where gay men and women, they can marry each other and adopt children and start their own families, like you get to choose. Do I still walk in fear, or do I have a new choice of how I get to embody my life? And so it's the same with the feminine. Yes, there have been times in society where women were taken advantage of, and we get to look and say, is that the reality that I choose to subscribe to today? And when we forgive those past hurts, and when we consciously choose to reawaken the goddess and the feminine, not just within ourselves but within our society, meaning having people remember, coming to the awareness, reminding little girls that they are beautiful and that it is okay to be beautiful, and looking at the true problem, which is not the little girl, but the perpetrator, and actually looking at what is going on with these perpetrators. How can we stop this from happening? How can we make sure that women get to express themselves, and if they want to have multiple sexual partners without being called sluts and whores? to be able to have to dress as they please and feel confident without anyone disrespecting their physical space and trying to touch them or grab them or anything like that. We need to reawaken the power of the feminine, where a woman is able to have what it is she wants, be who it is she is, without having an external person attack that. And so the problem, the solution comes from not you suppressing your feminine. The solution comes from us answering understanding and healing the hurt within ourselves, because as we heal that hurt, we can then therefore stretch our hands forward as a society, as a collective, and heal the hurt of the perpetrators who are doing things. So, so much to say. Like, this is a topic that I could talk about for days and hours and months, and I'm gonna do another follow-up video on this. I have quite a few videos coming out, so make sure to check the description box or click the end cards and stuff. But I want you, if you enjoy this conversation, if you want to learn more about this topic, then subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up so that I can know that you actually liked it. Leave your comments below. And last but not least, make sure to check the description box. I have a free guide on how you can get anything you want by embodying your inner seductress, which is the inner goddess, which is, one of the characteristics of the divine feminine. So if you enjoyed this, leave your comments below. Make sure to subscribe. This is a new channel. I'm trying to grow the channel, so make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of the times when I go live next, when I do videos next. But seriously, healing the inner feminine comes from understanding where your own personal hurt came from, forgiving that, and then consciously choosing to know that it is safe and it is okay here and now to be all of who you are. And yeah, I look forward to hearing your comments below. Until next time, kisses, peace and love to you. Ciao.